Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar where Attorney Todd Watley is going to be talking about essentials to building your elder law practice. My name is Amber Hines and I'm the owner of Ashbur, where we specialize in Medicaid compliant annuities offered from A-rated insurance carriers. If you have any questions during today's webinar, feel free to type those into the questions box of the GoToWebinar dashboard. Todd will be taking questions about halfway through and then again at the end of today's webinar. And also, if you're interested in a copy of the handouts from today's webinar, Todd would be happy to share those after the fact, and all of his contact information will be at the end of today's slides. So I'm really happy to have Todd with me today. He has over 20 years of elder law experience, and I will let you take it away from here, Todd.
All right. Thank you, Amber. As always, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about something I love. And so today is, sorry, there we go. So I love elder law. And I think one reason I'm particularly qualified to talk about this is because I have built and grown grown and sold 4 elder law practices over my 22 years. And so I've gone into practice with others and helped build it and then basically turned it over to them or sold to someone else. And so I've done this a few times and I pretty much know what works and what doesn't work. I am a certified elder law attorney, and I was actually president of the National Elder Law Foundation, the certifying board for all certified elder law attorneys from 2016 to 2018. My newest thing I'm doing, which I've done it, but I've never been chair, but I am co-chair of the NELF grading committee. So everyone who takes the CELA exam goes through the grading committee and we grade the exams, and I'm very honored to be co-chairing that. And at this point in my life, I still practice. I am still working and seeing clients, but my newest passion is coaching and MasterMind. And so I will talk about that for just a second, give you some information on that. But I love helping attorneys grow their practice and then how to implement all the information, train the attorneys, do things. So let's jump into this. So, we are hopefully coming out of COVID. I am hoping things are slowly returning to normal, but the last 15, 16 months have been very challenging for all kinds of business, but particularly the elder law practice has been difficult because nursing homes have basically shut down. You can't visit, and Amber and I were conversing before that we're now starting to see nursing homes open up and things have gotten very busy, and the established elder law attorneys that I know right now are just booming. And so hopefully we can get you in on this growth and get you in to start helping some folks. I actually started a new law firm in 2019 in October. So that was about 4 months before all of this really started shutting down, and it was a struggle. Okay, even having 20 years of experience, it still was a struggle to get things going, but I have grown and done fairly well during this pandemic, and I think it's just going to be fantastic after this thing is completely gone. So the number one thing that you've got to do to grow your practice is you have got to get your name out there, okay? And obviously marketing is the process of getting your name out there, but marketing to older people is different. They are a different generation, and trying to get your name to them in a ethical, effective way is sometimes a challenge, okay? Older people are surprisingly on the internet, and particularly I think through COVID, they have learned how to do things at home since they were quarantined, and they have really gotten onto their iPhones, their iPads, and their computers. And so it is absolutely necessary that you have to have a website. Now, back 10 years ago, when I created my first one, I spent thousands of dollars to create a website. And today, so many people have that skill to do it that there's some really nice avenues out there. And I personally use Fiverr, but some people use Upwork. And these are people who contract with you, they're contract employees that basically will do things for you. And you can get I just did it recently. I know how to build a website. I can do it, but I don't want to spend the 12 to 15 hours to do that. And I have found people on Fiverr who will build a website for $500. Okay, it's amazing. It does everything that you want, and it is surprisingly inexpensive for us, particularly here in America. And if you want someone who can build a website in about 5 days and do a fantastic job, I can give you an example of what he built for me. Email me and I will give you his contact. And he does it for surprisingly little money. Okay. Today, you have to deal with Google. All right. You've got to jump through all of the Google hoops to get your website out there, get it seen by Google, and do what you've got to do to work with Google. I do use Google Drive, email. I use them. I don't particularly like them, but I use them because they are the big player in town, and getting Google happy with your website, with your market is crucial, and it is absolutely the best way to get your name out there. Okay. And if you don't know what search engine optimization is, SEO, you've got to learn. And you can hire people. Fiverr has people out there that will do SEO for you, but I think you're the person, particularly once you sit through some meetings and you know what questions people are asking, what they are looking for, you know that better than anyone. And I would highly encourage you to take some courses, do what you need to do to learn SEO so that you can go into your website, then go into the backside of it and put the language in there so that Google sees your website and list it for the topics, for the questions and things that you have. I would highly encourage getting someone to get you started, but then you're going to be the best person to do it, to get in there and really customize your site so that it addresses the questions that your clients have. You do have to go meet people, and thankfully COVID is we're getting through it, and I think you can now go visit people physically or at least visit them virtually. There are people that you've got to go see. Nursing home business office managers are the people that you need to talk to. Sometimes you do have to start with the administrator, but it's not the administrator that is meeting the people first coming in or trying to figure out, can this person for the nursing home, do they need to be on Medicaid? Are there issues with their Medicaid? Have they made gifts in the past? Have they done things that are a problem and would cause them to be disqualified? It's the business office manager that is the person at the nursing home who figures that out. You've got to be friends with them. You have to know them. You need to, know the administrator, but it's the business office manager that's going to be key for sending you referrals. Social workers for hospitals, rehab agencies, nursing homes, home care agencies, the social workers out there, they are the ones who also meet with folks, figure out, yes, you need long-term care, and yes, it's expensive, but here's the person who can help you with that. And they will be able to help get you on Medicaid and not lose everything. They know the Medicaid rules. So you've got to let a social worker know that you are the person who knows that, and get your name in front of them so that they will send you folks. Financial advisors to me, they are a mixed bag. I think they need to know that you're out there, and they need to know that if they have a client that is spending $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 per month on care, they are draining their life savings. And is there something we can do about that? financial advisors need to know that you're out there. I've always had some difficulty maintaining a long-term relationship with them because they want to hang on to their money. And I think sometimes they are not looking out for the best interest of the client by hanging on to the money, or maybe they've sold this person that's really not appropriate. And now it's about to come to light. And so they clamp down and become very adverse to what you're wanting to do. But you can manage that. But I think knowing financial advisors, letting them know what you do is a huge benefit. Other attorneys are always really good referral sources because they particularly do what they do. And if you truly do elder law and that is what you do and you know those rules extremely well, let other attorneys know, hey, I can help this person. The typical Medicaid advice of most attorneys is if you're married, get a divorce because that'll split your assets and protect it. Or if you're single, just give everything away. And that solves everything. Well, it doesn't. And there are better options. And I have offered co-counseling fees, shall we call it, to say, look, if you'll screen them and send them to me, I think that's about 20% of the fee. And I don't know what you're going to charge for them to do a divorce or to give everything away, do the deed on the house, but I can almost guarantee you that the 20% that I pay you to screen the clients and get them to me is higher than what you were going to charge them and do all the work. And so it's a great way to let them probably make more money and do zero work after the initial screening and referral. So attorneys are really good ways to get folks in. And then absolutely geriatric care managers. You've got to know who they are and let them know that you are in this space and that you can help their clients. They are always looking for attorneys who know what they're doing and can help their clients. And so definitely get in front of geriatric care managers. The other thing, and if you're not a speaker, I highly encourage you to start becoming one. Even if you're not great at it, it's okay. They're pretty forgiving and they want to just meet you. Speak anytime someone asks you to. Big group, little group, individually, whatever, speak, okay? This past year, this past 15 months, most of those have been obviously virtual speaking engagements. But hey, that's better than not being out there. But absolutely, and I'll go through this in just a second. Once you can do in-person meetings again, I will give you the recipe for the absolute best marketing that you can do to get your name out there. Don't be discouraged by the size of the audience. Some of my absolute most financially productive meetings have been to 5 or less people. And it's because, if there is a large crowd, sure, you're getting your name, you're getting your information out there to a large group of folks. Okay, that's great. More people now know about you, and they will hopefully sometime in the future use you. However, in small groups, view those as very intimate, relational meetings, okay? Because if you've got 2 or 3 people on a Zoom call or in a room, you can sit down with them, look them in the eye, and specifically answer their question. Most people will open up more if there's only 2 or 3 people as opposed to 40 people. And I like both groups. I like big groups because I get my name out there to large groups, but I really do enjoy the small group because like I said, you can build a relationship with this person over an hour by saying, tell me what's going on. Tell me your situation that you're willing to spill in front of these people. Let me know what's going on, and here's how we can address that. And you really will build a relationship. And very early in my career, I drove about 3 hours for a meeting. And there were 3 people there, and I was like, I have just wasted time. But it was in a completely different part of the state. I met with those 3 people, did my presentation, and I promise you, those 3 people went out and probably told 10 people each. I was busy for 2 years after that meeting with those 3 people, going out and telling people to call me, and I would work with them, and then those people would tell others. And it was absolutely the best 6 hours plus the hour or two speaking. So 8 hours. It was the best 8 hours of my career, even though there were 3 people there. So don't be disheartened if only 3 people show up for your event. View it as a intimate relationship with these people that will truly get to know you, and they will use you, or they will tell other people, hey, this guy is really nice. This lady knows what they're doing. Please go see them. And if no one is asking you to speak, volunteer. Call all of those people on the last screen and say, hey, I was just curious, are you doing any speaking events? I would love to do that. I did that just this week. I saw a Facebook Live presentation by a geriatric physicians group, and they had an attorney on there, and she did an okay job. And I said, hey, my name's Todd Watley. I'm a certified law attorney. I would love to speak and talk about Medicaid. I noticed your attorney did not go into Medicaid much. I would love to talk about Medicaid because that's what people have questions about. And within a day, she was like, hey, yeah, we would love to have you on our show. So people are looking for speakers. And if they're not calling you, call them. I promise you, they need people. And particularly nowadays, trying to do things without doing groups, people have learned virtual Zoom meetings, GoToMeeting meetings, all of those are very popular now. And the older generation has really absorbed this and are taking advantage of it, and they are looking for speakers. Here is by far my favorite speaking event that has grown my practice and generated, so much business. It is a Q&A group to a group of seniors, and we call it Coffee with the Pro. The 2 places I go to, they provide the coffee. I bring a dozen donuts, okay, $15. Put it out. And typically with these, they're at like a senior center. And just one word of caution, if you go to a general senior center where they're playing pool and cards and all that stuff, you don't want to speak to the open crowd. Ask them to give you a room, and the people need to come to you specifically to hear what you're saying. I've tried speaking to the massive open group, and they're just mad at you because you're messing up their card game or their pool game or whatever. And even if, like I said, if just 3 people make their way to that room to talk to you, they're there to hear you. You're not just yelling at people, okay? They've come to hear you, your information. You are not selling anything, okay? And you tell the place that you're calling to say, hey, I would like to do Coffee with the Pro. I do elder law. People have questions about Medicaid, powers of attorney, estate planning, probate, things like that. I want to just answer their questions. I'm not selling a thing, and I just want to talk. And so there are no slides. There's no selling. You're simply standing there answering questions that those people have. And it is absolutely the best marketing that you can do. And it's $15 for a box of donuts, okay? It's cheap. And once you do this a few times, you can learn how to direct all of your questions. A question can be kind of random out there, but with some practice, you can get it to, oh yeah, you need a power of attorney to adjust, to fix that problem or to help you with that. Or yes, that would lead you to going through probate, and you don't want to go through probate. Here's a way to avoid it. And so I did one of these, and my coaching, a few of my coaching folks attended here locally virtually. And afterwards, they just laughed. They're like, Todd, every question you did answer, and it was very obvious that you answered it, but it was you were very clever in how you guided that toward powers of attorney, avoiding probate, Medicaid, VA, something. And I said, was it obnoxious? They said, no. it was very good how you did answer their question, but in that answer, you kind of led to what you could do for them. And, you know, they were impressed and they said, we took notes and we will do that in ours also. So that it's absolutely. So the big things you can talk about, what people always ask questions about is powers of attorney, estate planning, Medicaid planning, VA, and typically probate. Okay, so learn to direct the conversation toward what you do. You're not selling, you're just answering the question, but you're kind of directing it toward your services. Now, people always ask me, well, sometimes people just freeze. And there's been times I've done this. I said, hey, my name's Todd Watley. I'm here to answer a question. What's your first question? And it's crickets. Okay. That's okay. I then open up with saying, okay, I know everybody's kind of nervous right now. People usually ask me, what's the difference between a will and a trust? That is probably the most common question that I get. And almost everyone in the room's like, yeah, I did have that question. And so start there and then just talk about the difference between a will and a trust and just go into that. Sometimes if it dies down again, I'll say, well, you know, some people ask, do I really have to be broke to qualify for Medicaid, particularly if I'm married? Well, the answer is no. And here's those rules. And I go into the spousal protection rules and I explain how the rules do allow a spouse with $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 to qualify for Medicaid, and the other spouse keeps everything. Okay. And they're like, wait, what? You can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, you can. And so it opens up the conversation, and they didn't even ask a question. You're kind of doing a presentation, but you're doing it in the Q&A format, which people love, right? And then the almost always, I've been turned down by the VA to get money to help pay for care for my wife or husband or whatever. That question almost always comes up, and you're like, well, some people, you know, how many veterans do we have? And someone's going to raise their hand. It's like, okay, well, sometimes you may call the VA and get turned down because of this, and here's the answer for that. So it's a fantastic way that you're not selling anything, but by the time you do this for a good hour, they're like, can I have your car? And it's like, sure. And the facility, the venue knows that, yes, you can give out cards, but you can't sell. But after you go through this, so many people, every time I do this, at least half of the people ask for my card and call the office and set up an appointment. And there's been times where everyone in the room made an appointment. And I will say my office has suffered because we're not able to do this anymore. I'm hoping it's about to get started again, but this has been a huge dent in my revenue because I was not able to do this in person, looking at people, but hopefully that will get started again. And once you can start doing in-person meetings, take this recipe and present it to them and use it, and absolutely it will grow your practice. All right, so let's talk about questions real quick. Any questions right now? Let me open up the chat. Any questions right now? Amber, are you still there?
Yeah, people are mainly just asking about getting a copy of your presentation materials at
Okay.
this point. And then there is a question here about how do you get these sessions? Do you cold call facilities?
Sure. I mean, hopefully they know you, but even if they don't, just say, hey, I'm an elder law attorney. And I get the same questions in meetings every single day. And most of these places are looking for ways to benefit their participants, okay? And being able to answer their questions that they have is a great way for them to provide benefit to their participants. And you saying, look, I promise you, y'all can sit in the meetings with me. I will not sell, okay? I will just answer questions. But it's just the fact that you are there, that's who they're going to call. It's a huge advertisement, but it's not blatant advertisement. And it's just in the form of public service to answer your questions. And It's amazing. Okay. All right. I'll pause again later for questions. So what I'm about to go into, you'll be thinking, well, wait, Todd, this is not growing your practice. This is, what should your practice look like? Well, I will tell you, one of the biggest deterrents to your practice growing is if people come to your office and it's awkward, it's not designed for them, they have difficulty meeting with you, or you obviously don't know owed people, you don't have your office set up. That is a huge deterrent, and people will say, she's really not an elder law attorney because her office is so difficult to find, it's difficult to get into, it's just not senior friendly, so therefore they're really not a elder law attorney. Okay, so please go through this and realize the tips I'm about to give you are a subtle, yeah, this is what I do, and you need to tell your friends about me. Okay, it is crucial to have an office that is senior friendly. The biggest deterrent is having to, if you have steps going into your office, you're obviously not an elder law, friendly attorney, because steps are a deterrent to wheelchairs, to some older people. It's just difficult. And I do understand if you have an office that is not elder friendly right now, I understand that. Do the best you can. But if I would encourage you, if you really want to do elder law and you really want to take your practice to the next level, when you are changing offices, take these points, okay, and do this. So nothing says I really don't do elder law than an office that is not senior friendly, okay? First of all, you've got to be easily found. If you're tucked in behind a bunch of other businesses in a third floor on a insurance building, it's like, crud, where are they? And so I encourage you to be ground level and be somewhere local. Like my office right now is right next door to the DMV. Okay. Old people generally don't do their DMV stuff online. They go to the DMV, they walk in because they have half a day to spend at the DMV. So I was like, hey, this is a perfect office. I'm right next door to the DMV. And there's a thrift store that people love. And so the DMV's on one side, the thrift store is across the street, and I'm just to the end of that street. And so it's, get where people and be near landmarks, okay, that people can find. I really encourage that your people be able to park at the front door. Strip centers are absolutely perfect. Be in a decent strip center and, that is nice and professional, but be at the front door. Let them park at your front door, get out of their car, and walk directly into your office. It's crucial. Also, don't make your conference room in the very back of the office. Put the conference room up front where you're going to meet with clients. They need to be able to get there fairly quickly and not have to walk a very long distance. All right. The office itself, you really should have smooth but not slick floors. Okay, not necessarily hardwood. You don't have to spend that much money. What I have found best for both echoes, sound wise, and safety is a very low pile carpet. And my office right now has those peel and stick carpet squares that it's very, very close to the floor, very low, so that you can shuffle your feet on it fairly well, but it's not slick. And I'll get to in just a second, I do have rolling chairs at my conference table, but you put rolling chairs on hardwood and those things are gone. Okay. So you've got to be careful, but when you put a rolling chair on a low pile carpet, it doesn't go very far. It kind of sticks and it's perfect. Okay. Older people have difficulty seeing. So the low, subtle lights, well, that's cool in some places, but it's not good for elder law. You need a lot of light. People need to be able to see their documents, to see you. So lots and lots of light, okay? Plenty of light. Here's a trick that I learned the hard way is if your conference room has windows, and I had one conference room that was like all glass. Well, I learned, and my staff learned, when they seat people, don't sit the clients facing the window, because when you come in and sit in front of the window with all of that light behind you, all they see is just light, and you're black, basically like a picture taken facing the light source. That's difficult for them. They can't see, they'll be squinting. And so be mindful to have your staff seat people away from the window, with the window to their back, so that you're looking at them, and plus the light coming through the window lights you so that they can see you. And that's just one small thing that I learned the hard way when a client said, I can't see you. I was like, why? I'm sitting right here. Well, all of that bright light behind me was a problem. Okay. Chairs. All right. I've gone back and forth numerous times between just, not rolling chairs and rolling chairs. And it really does depend on your flooring. If you have hardwood slick floor, don't use rolling chairs. Okay. Just put up with scooting the chair away. But rolling chairs are nice because once they finally get to the chair, if they aren't very mobile, it's difficult to scoot them up in a non-rolling chair. But if you have rolling chairs that doesn't get away from them, but does easily scoot them up to the table, it's a subtle underlying thing that says, I really know what you're going through, and I've done this so that it will make life easier on you. And it's not something that screams, this guy doesn't do elder law. Okay, so just be mindful on things like that. A few more suggestions for your office. Make sure that your conference room is big enough so that you have space around the table, because remember, people are going to be coming in with walkers and wheelchairs. And if your space is so limited that you can't get past the chair and the wall with a wheelchair, it's like, who is this for? It's not for older people, because this is what we do. This is, people come in walkers and wheelchairs. So make sure your conference room is big enough to accommodate the table and a wheelchair or walker, or people, trying to get settled. It's subtle, but it's important. Okay. I had a coaching client one time said, Todd, honestly, I've been in practice 5 years and I never thought about this. Have notepads and pens on the table. He said, and people have even been, once I start talking, they're like, I need to write this down. And he said, it never crossed my mind that if I had notepads and pens on the table, it's like, here you go. They're like, oh, well, thank you. They start taking notes. It's one of those things that you're just like, duh, once you know it, but if you haven't thought about it, it truly makes a difference to accommodate them, to say, yes, please take notes. What I'm talking about is complicated, and you're going to wish you had taken notes later on. A box of tissue. All right. So many of our meetings have tiers. We are talking about a loved one going into the nursing home, or someone who's died, or we're now planning for our death, and we bring up the grandkids, and they're going to be sad when I'm going. Almost every meeting, can have tears, and many of them do. And having a box of tissues on the table kind of gives them permission to cry. It's like, oh, you kind of expected this. Yeah, this is very common, and it's okay to cry. Whereas if you don't have tissues, they're like, oh, I shouldn't be crying. This is not a place to cry. Well, many times in a elder law office, sure, it's fine. And having a box of tissues not only is helpful, but it kind of gives them permission to open up. And it's like, I'm expecting this to be heart-wrenching, and I'm okay if you cry, and because I've got a box of tissues on the table. All right. Have a contract. Expect people to hire you. And if you act surprised when they hire you, they're like, does this guy really know what he's doing? And if you're like, so here's what I can do for you, and here's the fee, and they're like, yeah, let's do that. And you're like, sorry about that. And you just go through and start filling out the contract. They're like, this guy knows what he's doing. He expected me to hire him. And so it just carries on that attitude of this is what I do, and yes, you can hire me, and I expected you to hire me, and here it is, let's go. And not having to get up and leave the room and go to your computer and do stuff. My contract is pretty much for estate planning is filled out with all the things. I just have to fill in the process, sign it, they sign it, it's done. Okay. So act like you expect them to hire you by having a contract ready and available. All right. Again, let me just go through this because so many, when I consult with other firms, one of the first thing I do is I walk in their office and I'm like, this does not portray elder law. This is difficult for older people to get into. It's difficult for them to navigate through your office. You are not portraying that you are a elder law attorney. And having an office that is easy for them does not dissuade them from coming to see you. And actually, once they think about it, it's like, man, her office was really nice, really convenient. And they will tell their friends, you should go see them, particularly when they went to an attorney that was up a flight of stairs or steps going into the office, whatever. They're like, hey, you just walk right in and it's easy. It's one of those things that repeatedly have come back to me to say, I'm here because my friend told me how easy it was for them to come see you and how you really do seem to be focusing on the elderly because of these things. It truly does make a difference. So they then tell others that this is really what you do, and you've thought about them. What if you have no office? That's fine. There's quite a few of my coaching folks right now that they do not have an office and they're doing quite well. And that's fine. You are going to spend more time in your car. You are going to go to their houses, but take some of these things with you. Take extra pads and pens so that they can take notes. Take a contract with you, assuming they're going to hire you. When you get to their house, look at the lighting, look and make sure that you're not sitting somewhere that they can't really see you due to the glare from a window. So take these things, even if it's not in your office. You have no office, sure, go to their house, but keep these things in mind that, hey, this is really what I do. And I know this can be a concern for you, lighting and, chairs and different things. I do understand that, and that gives them confidence that you really are an elder law attorney and you can help them. Here is one of the things that I want to talk about is the first meeting with the client is absolutely crucial. So you've done your marketing, word of mouth has worked, and they've now come to your office. They are now here. Now what? Okay. Nothing aggravates me more than for the client to walk in and no one greet them very quickly. Okay. So, someone needs to greet them because they walk in and they don't see anyone. If you don't have someone sitting at that front desk, make sure someone, there's a door chime that will go off and someone will get there very quickly to say, hi, how are you? Welcome. Here's the conference room. Walk right in. Okay. They have to be met quickly. I encourage you to arrange your schedule so that they don't have to wait. I have furniture in my waiting room, but it is rarely used because I schedule my appointments so that when someone comes, the conference room is not full, or at this point, I have 2 conference rooms. And so if one meeting is going over for whatever reason, they can go into a different conference room. They don't sit down because sometimes sitting down and getting back up is difficult for the elderly client, and you don't want them to sit down and then 20 seconds later have to get back up and then go to the conference room. Try your best, schedule some lag time between your last meeting and your next meeting so that when they walk in the door, hi, how are you? Step right this way to the conference room. Can I get you some water, some Coke or whatever? Okay. So very little things that seem to not be a big deal, but it all adds up, okay? Offer drinks, tell them where the restroom is. Old people go to the bathroom a lot and they want to know where the restroom is. And so let them know the restroom's down the hall to the right, okay? Make sure that everyone is seated correctly. And you're like, what does that mean? Okay, well, I've already talked about the window, okay? So generally it doesn't matter, okay? I have a oval conference table, so there kind of is a head of the table, but I'd say probably half the time I don't sit there. I sit across from the client on the long side of the table. And usually it doesn't matter, okay? But there is one time that seating really does matter, and this will make a huge difference to the family to say, this guy really knows what he's doing. If the meeting is to do documents for an older person with dementia, okay, so your job is there to determine, does this person have the requisite capacity to sign documents? Seating really does matter because you've got to ask them some questions and you've got to get legitimate, truthful answers from them without someone cueing them as to what to say. In this situation, if you can picture a rectangle table or my oval table, if you'll sit at the end, put the older person around the corner or next to you, facing you, and then make sure that the family is behind them. If they do come with family, make sure they're behind the client. So you're sitting here looking at the client's looking at you. They can't see their family back there be behind them, okay? Sorry. The reason for that is you ask a question, do you get dressed by yourself every day? She's like, yes, I do. And the family's back there going, no, she doesn't dress herself. Or do you always eat your meals? Do you whatever question that you're asking, you need a honest answer from her. And she may tell you what she thinks is honestly, but the family's back there out of the corner of your eye going, that is not true. Okay, so it truly does make a difference. And with her just facing you, she's less likely to turn and get cues from her family. Okay, so that's the one time it really does matter. And my staff knows if someone comes in with signs of dementia, it is crucial that you sit kind of face to face with each other, but have the family back there so that they can verify. All right. The older person focuses on you and is not getting cues from her family. Also, you can verify the answers that the elder is giving without the client knowing that they're disagreeing with her, okay? Because that makes them upset and it's a problem. Again, this lets the family know I'm an elder law attorney, I know what I'm doing, and here's the process we go through. And it just builds respect and builds confidence in your services. One thing, this is not really growing your practice, but it's just one thing that in elder law seems to be a problem, and one thing that I want you to be very aware of. Who is in the meeting is important, but who's not there is also, I think, just as important. Elder law is a very family-oriented law. Typically at this point, particularly if we are looking at placing someone into a nursing home, the whole family is involved. And so we are dealing with the entire family, not just the older person going into the nursing home. Notice who of the family is there. Also, notice who is the decision maker. Is it a son? Is it a daughter? Is it the spouse? Not that it matters particularly, but just know who you need to be persuading to go forward with your services and who is the person that you need to convince to do this. But notice who is not there. And it's that son or daughter who maybe disagrees with this whole process and is going to be a thorn in your side as you go through this. It's like, oh, everything's great. Yes, we can transfer assets. We can do all of this stuff with no problem. But the child who is not there on purpose and is not happy with this and may be conversing with their own attorney to throw a wrench in things, you need to know that from the start. Number one, your fee should reflect the extra work this is going to take. And you may not even want the case. If it's going to be too much of a hassle for you and you're not the litigation, opposition type attorney, you might not even want this case, and you won't even know it if you don't notice one of the kids is not there and they are not happy. Now, a kid could not be there because they live half a country away, and that's legitimate. They're like, oh, they're fine. You'll get them on the phone or whatever, but it's the kid that's not there, that's disgruntled, that's a problem. Body language. I'm a huge body language fan to realize what's the tone of this group, how do they interact among themselves, but then also how are they feeling about putting dad into the nursing home, or should he stay home, or all these assets, and particularly mixed families, his kids and her kids. You've really got to notice, is this a problem? Okay. Much of elder law is truly mediation and true counseling. It's not so much advocacy, but it's bringing groups together to say, hey, we need to be aware of this. So if there is an elephant in the room, I'm a huge advocate of dealing with it, because you would rather get it out there on the table from the start rather than it crop up later and cause you problems. And particularly if you charge flat fees, you've already charged your fee, and now you just have to deal with this. Okay. All right, staffing. I never do meetings by myself if I can help it. And the reason is you need to be looking at the client. You need to look at their body language, look at their facial expressions, see what they like, see what they don't like, notice the family dynamics. You need to be looking at them when you ask questions and you get answers, not looking at a notepad. Okay. Have staff there to take notes. Their job is to basically document the meeting, questions you ask, answers, things like that. If you can't afford a staff person at this point, I get that, record the meeting. So many people, will ask, can I record this? And so if you're recording it, it's for your purposes. I apologize for the noise. Sometimes they will ask for a copy of that recording, okay? And to me, that's okay. Make sure someone's answering the phone as you're in this meeting. There is nothing more aggravating than you're in this meeting and your phone is out there just ringing constantly. Take it off the hook, do something. Ideally, have someone answer the phone. I know staff is expensive, but it is absolutely worth it. And generally, starting out, almost all attorneys, what I did, my wife was my office person. Okay. She was able to be there, help me. I understand that. Sometimes it's a friend, but at a minimum, it needs to be you, someone there to help do the paperwork, take notes during meetings, and also someone to answer the phone. You can get an answering service. I'm not a huge fan of that unless they work strictly for you and you've trained them what to do, but it's better than the phone ringing throughout the meeting. Okay. I don't like answering machines as a routine. Older people want to speak to people. Okay. They want to talk to a person and have someone answer the phone, but an answering machine is, can be used for spillover periodically, but not full time. Okay. No phone trees. Have someone answer the phone. People don't like pushing one for this or that. Have someone answer the phone. All right. The other thing that will drastically grow your practice is you may need some help. Okay. I did this all by myself. I started out, there was no one to mentor me. I was like the second elder law attorney in the state of Arkansas, and the only other elder law attorney was not sharing, did not want to help, did not offer any assistance. And I highly recommend this stuff is not hard. It's just complicated, and that may seem, contradictory, but the stuff is not hard. You pass the bar, you're smart. This stuff is not hard, but it can be very complicated and intricate. You need someone to run this by. Okay, the learning curve is extremely high and steep, and I almost quit so many times because I can't do this, but thankfully I did. Be careful of listservs, okay? They are good for general information, but many times you'll get information from someone in another state who may not be giving you state specific information, and you can mess up big time if you don't do it correctly for your state, or just that quick interaction may not be sufficient. Okay. Local bar meetings are good. You can get state information there. I've just found they're always kind of cagey about the information they give, and they're your competitors, and they're going to be very careful about what they tell you. So one reason I'm doing what I'm doing, I just want to go through this real quick. I would love to help you, and I do coaching, and I am starting in July a mastermind group where we come together, small group, probably 6 of us, 6 of y'all plus me, come together, learn, discuss, go through things. And so I'm starting that in July. Also do, just out of requests from people, is I do 4-hour coaching blocks, okay, where you get some documents from me, you get 4 hours one-on-one. I will talk to you, I will help you with a current problem that you're having or get you up to speed on this particular issue, whatever, 4 hours up to you. I will work with you one-on-one to help you get up to speed and take my 22 years of experience and a whole lot of mess ups and say, I messed that up a long time ago. Let me help you not mess that up, okay? So in the full-on coaching stuff, we do Medicaid, VA, estate planning, special needs trust, marketing, and office procedures. We go through all of that. It's generally set up on a year schedule to get through that intense training, where we do a recorded training, and then we do Q&A, mastermind type approach to getting the information out there, and one-on-one phone calls. And if you do not the 4-hour coaching, but the full coaching, I will do 2 one-on-one phone calls every single month to look at fact patterns, get further education, just whatever that you need, 2 hours with me every single month, okay? One thing I'm excited about is I have taught the quote weekend Medicaid courses, and I have seen those become more advertising than information. And so on June 4th of this year, coming up in a few weeks, I am doing a Medicaid bootcamp all day. I do have 6 hours of approved CLE. It's approved by Arkansas that this is a national educational event. I do general federal law, talk about some state specific things that are common throughout the states, but it is 6 hours of CLE, 1 hour of ethics. So you can definitely get your ethics hour by that or through this program. And it is not just the boring ethics hour, it is working with a client with diminished capacity. That is very popular. People love that. And how I can change your practice in how you look at working with a client with diminished capacity, and can they or can they not sign documents. And I think I will change your world with that hour, okay? I love the presentation. Almost everybody who goes through it says, man, that is amazing, okay? So I'm going to cram a full weekend's worth of Medicaid training into one day, okay? And I'm only charging $149, okay? So that is June 4th from 9 until 4:30 Central Time. It's virtual. And so if you have questions about this, you can go to my coaching website, which is elderlawinabox.com/bootcamp, and that will get you all of the information. All right. We have 6 minutes, and I can answer questions.
Perfect. Okay, it does look like we have a question here. The question is, what if virtual? How important is full-time brick and mortar office these days?
Whew. I think older people still like, they trust attorneys. They still respect the title of attorney, but I have had some issues with them thinking, are you really legitimate if you don't have a brick and mortar office? I know a lot of elder law attorneys who do not have offices and they are doing quite well. Okay. It's not as efficient, like in my office, I do a 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I have 8 appointments every day and I can do those. And if all 8 hire me, I can have a pretty good day. All right. If you're driving to appointments, I think it would be very difficult to do an appointment in less than 2.5 hours per appointment because you're going to spend an hour there at least, and then you've got to do some prep work and then drive to another place at least 2 hours per appointment. So that cuts your productivity in half. Plus, if there's traffic, if the road's blocked due to a wreck or whatever, it's just, if you're willing to do that, you can do it and save a ton of money because offices are expensive with the rent, the utilities. So internet, it's there is a cost there. I personally, though, have found that it is worth it to have a brick and mortar office because I can be much more efficient. And I think the people view you as a little more legitimate that you really are a lawyer because they view lawyers as having offices.
And what is your take on doing house calls if people are requesting that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do house calls. Okay. I still do it. And I just try to work it in a day that I'm not just super busy and try to charge for that. It's like, ma'am, yes, if you come to the office, I do a free consult. But if I'm coming to you, that's going to be 2 hours out of my life. And I've got expenses with this and that. And, but I will do it for free if I think it is a really good case. I would definitely talk to them on the phone or have someone in your office talk to them first and screen them out as being they have absolutely no money going into the nursing home. They're automatically qualified for the nursing home. Probably don't want to waste those 2 hours, but if it's a good case and you think they're going to hire you, then sure, I would go and I would go for free because I'm pretty sure they're going to hire me.
And can you talk a little bit about if attorneys have already been to another training event? Is your boot camp only for beginner attorneys, or how would you describe that?
I think every one of my coaching clients right now have been to a weekend Medicaid course, and the resounding, comments that I get is, "You're a practicing attorney and you're teaching us this." And I think I do a pretty good job of boiling down complex issues so that they are understandable. And I think you can go through that weekend and 6 months later think, man, if you don't immediately practice it, you kind of forget everything. And so everyone that has gone through my coaching course, I'll say, has been through those other courses and they've said, I still learned a ton of stuff. And the reason I do the one-on-one coaching is because people go to those weekend courses and then show up in their office Monday morning. It's like, how do I apply this to a fact pattern? It's like they feel so abandoned. It's like, I learned this stuff, but I don't know how to apply it to a client. And that's where the MasterMind Q&A courses come into play because everybody shares. It's like, yeah, I don't know how this this Medicaid fact that I learned, how does it fit within this client's situation? We can talk about that. And then I do one-on-one. It's like, okay, here, I've actually done initial meetings with my coaching folks because they're like, Todd, I freeze. I don't know how to address their objections. It's like, okay, schedule it on Thursday at 3 o'clock. We'll do a Zoom meeting and I'll be there with you. I'll let you lead the meeting, but if I see you get stuck, I'll jump in. And so many times they're like, oh, and I'm like, so Miss Jones, let's talk about this. And I'll jump in and I'll address her concerns. And she's like, let's go forward with this. And in my coaching class, like, oh, thank you, Todd, because I could not have saved that case. I was like, well, I've done it a few times. And so, that's a huge benefit. And that's what the weekend courses won't do for you, is be able to help you once you get back home. And so I would encourage you go through all of that information again. I present it probably a little bit differently, but it's the follow-up afterwards that makes all the difference.
Okay, perfect. It doesn't look like we have any other questions at this point, but your contact or Trisha's contact information is on the screen if anybody wants to reach out directly to Trisha or to Todd. Thank you,
Okay.
Todd. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before I close things out?
No, if I can help you out, please let me know, and I would love to work with you. All right.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Todd, and thank everybody for attending today. And I hope you guys have a great start to your summer here real soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.